Time aligners.
They don't interfere with your daily lifestyle at all.
Choose easy. Choose Smile. Get started for free at SmileDirectClub.com.
Johnny Depp won. Amber Heard lost. After 6 weeks of testimony and evidence, the jury spoke loudly. Amber defamed Johnny. An absolutely stunning verdict in Virginia. A celebrity winning a defamation case in the United States of America is not common. It is something that rarely happens.
Both of them, in their counterclaims, have to prove that the person making defamatory statements knew at the time that what they were saying was false.
Tonight, we take a look at more of the fallout from the trial of this century. Why didn't the jury believe Amber's allegations?
You weren't scared of him at all, were you?
This is a man who tried to kill me. Of course it's scary.
And will this very public trial deter other people from making false allegations? Or will real, actual victims now think twice about accusing someone of domestic abuse? Get ready as we break down the big issues and the big moments from Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Back here in the mothership. Time to exhale. Whew. You know, in the aftermath of all of this, I'm still trying to get a handle on what just happened in the last 2 months. I mean, this kind of like snuck up on us and then overcame us to a certain extent. And as I look back on this, this was what I'm calling the unicorn trial. This is the trial that comes around once in a great while. It does not happen, and for many different reasons. I mean, the first reason, you've got an absolute A-list celebrity voluntarily going into court and speaking about some of the most intimate moments and private moments of his life. They try to hide that. They want to protect their privacy as much as possible. They only want the world to see what makes them look really good, not those real moments, those painful moments, those difficult moments. And for Johnny Depp, A-lister, I mean, he put it all out there. The alcohol, the drug use, everything. From painting on the wall with a finger that was cut off with paint to nodding off and you know, hitting the Roxy's again. I mean, everything. Everything was there. This does not happen. It just doesn't happen. It's the last thing most A-list celebrities want to happen. You also had absolutely horrific allegations by another actor in Hollywood. Again, someone who, you know, these moments, you don't want to make them public. You don't want to make a whole spectacle of everything. But it happened. When was the last time you saw someone who is in big-time Hollywood movies come into a courtroom and talk about being abused, getting into fights, playing recordings of private moments with their spouse? Doesn't happen. This stuff doesn't happen. Also, let's not forget what this case was. It was a celebrity defamation case, okay? Celebrities are written about all the time. They're public figures. And generally, the media, tabloids, regular news, people usually aren't too scared of writing about celebrities because of the laws here in the United States and how difficult it is for a public figure / celebrity to sue for defamation in this country. And it's for a good reason, because of our Constitution and our First Amendment. And that's what this was. Johnny Depp brought a defamation claim. And what makes this the ultimate unicorn trial, he actually won. He won the case. He won the case. Millions of dollars. I mean, sometimes ordinary folks who end up in something and get accused of something horrific like murder and are completely innocent, they have successful cases. But a celebrity? Wow. Wow, this just doesn't happen. We have a lot to unpack tonight. But first, let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, joining us live, of course, from Fairfax County, Virginia, where if she stays, I think, 2 more weeks, she can file for citizenship. Okay, Chanley, you know, after every trial, whichever side is not successful, usually here at Court TV, it's a criminal case. A criminal gets convicted. They talk about the appeal. This isn't a criminal case, it's a civil case. But is Amber Heard talking about an appeal here?
She is indeed. Good evening, Vinny. I'm just missing the alpacas today. That's what I'm missing here in Virginia. But yes, I confirmed last night with Amber Heard's team that they intend to appeal the verdict, the dramatic verdict that was rendered yesterday. I was in the courtroom on the edge of my seat watching it all unfold, could feel the disappointment, the deflation on Amber's side of that courtroom. Her sister there in support of her, as always, of course, and she quickly departed. And well, we are curious as to this appeal. And of course, her attorney right there, Elaine Bredhoff, was up early on the Today Show with talking about whether or not she's going to pursue this appeal and what grounds she may have. Let's watch.
Does your client want to appeal?
Oh, absolutely. And she has some excellent grounds for it. We even had tried to get the UK judgment in to dismiss his case because he already had his shot. And that's one of the issues, but also a number of the evidentiary issues. There was so much evidence that did not come in.
Vinny, I remember being in the courtroom when Heard's attorneys would make proffers outside the presence of the jury for the record to preserve for appeal on items of evidence, text messages, recordings, audios, pictures, testimony, medical records that they wanted into evidence that were excluded by this judge. Of course, the pre-trial rulings, if you go back through some of the court documents over the years since this was filed in 2019, there were motions by Heard's team that were denied by the court. Even the jury instruction conference made some rulings there that they could appeal possibly. And remember that last-ditch motion that was filed that they advocated against during the closings, all the sidebars that happened during this trial. So who knows what all will be in front of an appellate court, but they do have 30 days to file notice after the entry of a judgment, Vinny.
Yep, and there's like, you know, 8.35 million reasons why you might want to file an appeal in this case. By the way, Savannah Guthrie doing that interview, Court TV alum. What's next in this case, Chanley?
Well, the judge gave us a hint right at the end of the day yesterday. Let's listen.
I will set this down for entry of an order. And can we do it on June 24th at 10 a.m. if that's available? All right,
Yes,
Mr. Chu, if you could prepare that order and then circulate it to Ms. Bredhoff, and we can have all the objections noted on it. All right?
We'll do that, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
All right, and if I get it before that date, I'll take it off the docket, okay?
Entry of an order is next. Mr. Chu in charge of drafting that up for the judge. And again, she talked about, of course, modifying the amount of punitive damages there that the jury awarded Johnny Depp. $5 million, but reducing that to $350,000 under the law here in Virginia, Vinny.
Yeah, the old tort reform, plaintiff's attorney's worst enemy in our law. Anyway, by the way, I know your day started kind of early with Good Morning Britain. So how you feeling tonight? Are you okay?
Tired.
Tired. Okay.
Yes.
Chanley Painter, thank you so much because I know there's another big day for you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, the attorney for Amber Heard, Elaine Bredhoff, will join Chanley Painter for an in-depth interview from the Fairfax County Courthouse. That is tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on Court TV. It will be live. Now, getting back to how I opened all of this tonight. Early on in this trial, we brought in a First Amendment expert, defamation lawyer, and I asked him a question about, you know, a celebrity suing for defamation. How hard is it to win that case on a scale from 1 to 10? Here was the answer.
It's an 11. You're absolutely right, because both of them in their counterclaims have to prove that the person making defamatory statements knew at the time that what they were saying was false. It's called malice, and it's very difficult to prove.
1 to 10 and 11. And that's why I started the show off this way, by understanding what just happened. It is so rare, and that's why we have joining us tonight in Los Angeles, California, First Amendment and defamation lawyer Jeff Lewis back with us. Jeff, great to see you. The reason I played that, because I want people to really understand that going into this, I thought it was a super long shot, not because I believe or don't believe Johnny Depp, just because this type of case is so difficult. Give us some perspective tonight and your reaction when you heard that Johnny Depp won this case.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All Amber Heard had to do going into this trial was prove that one violent act occurred, or that she genuinely believed the violence occurred, that she did not have actual malice. She didn't prove either. I'm shocked.
So, I've seen big verdicts and big settlements in defamation cases, and the normal situation is someone is involved in something that is newsworthy. The media gets it wrong, accuses the person maybe of setting off a bomb during the Olympics or something like that, right? And they're completely innocent. But for a celebrity who day in and day out are written about in tabloids around the country, people talk about them, people joke about them, people analyze every movement of their lives. I mean, how many times do celebrities go to court and actually win these types of cases?
Most of the time they settle. They don't go to this three-ring circus we just had in terms of a full-on trial. This is definitely a unicorn.
So what do you think made the difference here? Why this case was this jury convinced that this was malicious, that this was with malice, that this was totally false? What made the difference here for Johnny Depp?
Yeah, so his lawyers did a masterful job of destroying her credibility on the stand on little things, and each of those little things would add up. She would argue with the lawyers about, you don't know how to use cocaine, or there was testimony regarding a knife that she gave to Johnny Depp. All of these little things build up into a big thing, and at the end of the day, the jury didn't believe her.
Now, let me ask you this. There's been talk through the years of trying to adjust the laws here in the United States when it comes to suing for defamation. And really, it's high-profile people that we're talking about, celebrities, public figures. Does this trial, this verdict, do you think, does it change the game? Do you think some celebrities and public figures might be a little more aggressive in litigating what they believe are defamatory statements about them, their lives, their reputations?
Well, yes and no. Potential plaintiffs are going to feel emboldened by this ruling, that if Johnny can win, why can't I? But on the other hand, the excruciating detail, intimate details about their lives were displayed in the courtroom. I don't know that anyone's going to want to put that in front of the public eye.
And give us a little idea. I mean, you saw how this case played out over the course of years. I mean, the trial is 6 or 7 weeks, but the buildup to that is enormous. And we saw the number of lawyers on each team. What goes into proving a case like this in terms of preparation and man and woman hours?
Yeah, you've probably covered enough trials to know this case wasn't won in the courtroom. It was won in pretrial discovery. 6 subpoenas to the ACLU to get emails and other documents regarding the donation. All of the depositions that we're taking, all the preparation so that when the time came for trial, certain evidence could be excluded because it wasn't produced in discovery or there was an answer to everything. You're talking thousands and thousands of hours of attorney time.
And one final question, Jeff. Do you think there will be a chilling effect? And what I'm talking about is whether it's the media or anyone else speaking about public figures and criticizing and speculating about what's going on in their lives. Do you think some people may think twice and pull back on things that they're going to say that they don't necessarily know have been verified or is true?
Without a doubt, editorial boards for newspapers are going to take a note of this outcome, and victims of abuse are going to be hesitant to report their claims either to the police or file a civil lawsuit because they're going to be worried they just went through the hell that Amber Heard went through in court.
Jeff Lewis, First Amendment lawyer, defamation expert. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, we have a lot to get to tonight. When we come back, where in the world is Johnny Depp right now? What's he up to? Who's he talking to? Well, I know someone that he's been talking to, and I'm going to talk to him. Don't go anywhere. Shortly after the verdict yesterday, I was right there. The fans of Johnny Depp, once they found out that he won, chanting his name. Johnny Depp, as we know, was not at the courthouse for the actual reading of the verdict. Where was he? Well, he was overseas. There was some Instagram video of him at a pub in Newcastle near Manchester. Let's take a look at that.
Love you, Johnny. We love you, Johnny. We love Johnny. I love you, bro. I love you, bro. I love you, bro. I love you.
There you go. That's from the Bridge Tavern in Newcastle, and that was shortly before the verdict. Also posed for a picture with a fan there. We could take a look at that as well. So Johnny Depp, I guess, seemed sort of relaxed before the reading of the verdict. And being Johnny Depp, right? He's over in the UK. Also visited the Folly Wildlife Rescue at some point. This is south of London. Met with the staff and held an orphaned badger cub named Freddie, as in Freddie Mercury, the great musician, former lead singer before he passed away tragically of the group Queen. How about that? All right. So let's talk about Johnny Depp. Let's bring in a special guest who knows Johnny Depp. Joining me tonight he's always somewhere in the world, exotic, from Bora Bora, the executive producer of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which starred Johnny Depp. Robert Vale back with us. Robert, great to see you.
Thanks for having me, Vinny. Good to see you too.
Let me start first with your reaction. The verdict yesterday, your friend Johnny Depp wins, outright winner. Your thoughts, what was going through your mind as the jury delivered their verdict yesterday?
I was shocked how fast it came in, but I was thrilled.
Let's talk about Johnny Depp. I understand, and while I would never ask you to reveal personal, intimate details of any conversation, but I understand that you did have an opportunity to speak with Johnny Depp after this verdict. How's he doing? How would you describe his demeanor, his vibe, his thoughts? What can you tell us?
I called an assistant of his after the verdict came in yesterday to say congratulations and no need to call me back.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So tell me what you think. Like, Johnny Depp is on tour right now, apparently in the UK. Wasn't there for the verdict, was there for the entire trial, but it was his case. He brought it. How important do you feel for Johnny Depp, this verdict yesterday?
Very important. He called me early this morning, out of the blue, to say thank you for wishing him, congrats and a belated happy birthday. And he's ecstatic. He's got a long road ahead because of the appeals and whatnot. He's grateful to everybody, especially his fans. And he's thrilled to be out on tour with the legendary Jeff Beck. He's having fun every night. And he can't wait to get back into making movies. He needs to find a script with a great character that he can develop. And my professional opinion is Disney should sign him right now, because otherwise they'll get him later at a higher price.
So your thoughts are he's going to be a hot commodity now, having won this trial, what surrounded this trial, the outpouring of support for Johnny Depp. Do you think that boosts? I mean, he's already got a super high profile, but we know the reason that he filed this lawsuit was because of these accusations that have been made against him.
Correct, Vinny. I just, want to make it clear that I'm not a shill for Johnny. He doesn't tell me what to say, and nor would I say it if he did. You guys reached out to me as a fluke based on Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. And I would say these same things about anybody that I know of that caliber. Sure, I have Weinstein's old number and Cosby's old number in my Rolodex or computer, but those stories are totally 180 degrees different.
That's a fascinating comparison to make here, you know. And what you're saying is Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, completely different people from your perspective than Johnny Depp.
Absolutely, I wouldn't associate with them. When I met Cosby as an adult, early 90s at the Playboy Mansion, I wouldn't shake his hands. And he made a veiled threat about how I was repping talent. And I said, hey, show business is an ever-decreasing part of my income stream. It has been since 1982 or so. So knock yourself out. The people who I rep, you can't get them to drop me. And if you want to take it farther, Bill, you know, I happen to, you know.
Well, that puts some perspective on it, right? Because, you know, people might be watching you and saying, "Oh, yeah, he's just going to say whatever about." No, you pick and choose, and you make your decision based upon your analysis of the character of the people that you meet, and I think that's important. I want to take a look at a quick clip from the trial, because this is a big issue. It was a big issue during the case, and I want to get your take on it. This is Johnny Depp on the witness stand demonstrating how he got that injury on his finger where it was partially severed. Let's listen.
Was leaning like this in the chair, looking at her. First bottle went, then I got the other bottle shot. Takes the second bottle, which is the larger one. I'm in this position again, and my hand is on the edge of the bar, like that, you know, leaning over, the fingers like that, and she threw the large bottle, and it made contact and shattered everywhere.
So, Robert, what are your thoughts about that? Because, I mean, we watched this entire trial, and the injury that he said, I mean, it was real. We saw the pictures. We saw the photographs.
I call it the immaculate laceration. We had a sick, dark humor parlor game last week and tried to reenact how it happened based on what he testified to. We couldn't get the physics to match. I think that because of the fact of a crushed bone injury and the blood loss from the deep laceration, he went into instant shock. He described it oddly, but it was shock. And if somebody's throwing something at you, even if it's a stress ball, you're gonna, you know, cover your face. Especially when it's a vodka bottle 8 feet from you, and the first one misses, and the second one is a half-gallon vodka bottle. You know, somehow or another, it hit him. He considers himself primarily a musician, and the last thing he's going to do is purposely hurt his hand. Either one, the strumming hand, fret hand, whatever. So I don't buy that he smashed a cell phone on it, or however. It's kind of hard to crush a bone with a cell phone. So while the pictures weren't really clear and I couldn't make out the jug handle, but, you know, I wasn't like watching them with a microscope or magnifying glass, I think she threw it. He's, you know, he's an abuse victim.
Robert Vale, executive producer, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, met and worked with Johnny back in the day, spoke with him yesterday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I know you're going to have a good time. You're in Bora Bora. I mean, come on. We're all jealous. Talk to you soon.
It's raining.
It's raining. Stay dry. All right. When we come back, start talking about Amber Heard a little bit now. We're going to try to answer the question, why didn't the jury believe Amber Heard was a victim?
Get it before you need it.
Threw a glass at me and slams me up by my neck. Tells me that he could kill me. He just kicked me in the back. Throws me across the room and is just whacking me in the face. And he balled up his fists, leaned back, and headbutted me square in the nose. Slams me up against the side of the closet. He had me by the hair and dragged me. He was squeezing my neck against the railway car. He'd slam me up against the wall. And Johnny at one point slapped me in the face in our bedroom. He punched me across the jaw. I went flying into this old church furniture, pulls his arm back with the phone and throws it at my face. Johnny was strangling me and assaulting me on the countertop in Australia.
This is a man who tried to kill me.
Jury didn't believe it. The jury did not believe it. I mean, that is super clear today. The jury inside that courtroom did not believe Amber Heard. But why didn't they believe her? Let's bring in our guests. Incredible experience and perspectives, all of them. Joining me tonight in Austin, Texas, trial attorney Holly Davis. She's been in the trenches. In Los Angeles, California, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, columnist Dr. Carol Lieberman. And in North Adams, Massachusetts tonight is New York Times best-selling author of the book, You Can't Lie to Me. Retired ATF investigator, world-renowned body language expert, Janine Driver is with us. You can check her out on TikTok at Body Language Institute. I want to hear from everyone tonight. It's just one question, but take your time in answering it. I'll start, Holly Davis. Why didn't the jury believe she was a victim?
Because her testimony and her demeanor was anything but a victim. I think that the jury who is sitting closest to Amber Heard, they're charged with determining the credibility of every single witness, and they did just that. They saw her bare her teeth. They saw her sob, but no tears came out. And they saw her combat every single question that was posed to her on cross-examination. If I were on her legal team, I would have advised her to have undergone extensive cross-examination training where you actually submit to some of the questions and be vulnerable so the jury thinks that you're human. Instead, her testimony and the testimony of others actually painted a picture of a very, very aggressive, high-conflict woman who is anything but a victim. And that's what makes this case so problematic if it's representative of all victims of domestic violence. Because, Vinnie, the victims of domestic violence that I've represented act and speak and talk nothing like Amber Heard did during this trial.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, why didn't this jury, all 7 of them, they didn't believe Amber Heard?
Yes, well, first of all, I agree with all of those reasons. And also her testimony didn't make sense. You know, it was inconsistent. She would say one thing one day and another thing the next day. It didn't make sense. You know, there were 2 women on the jury, and they knew that any woman who would have allegedly gotten cavity searched and raped by a bottle would have gone to the emergency room right away or the next day to some doctor. So right away, that was, you know, not credible. Also, there were a lot of witnesses who contradicted things that she said. Also, you know, there's a saying in marketing, you have to be likable in order for people to buy your things. Like if you want to sell books or if you want to sell your story as an abuse victim, you have to be likable first. And she was anything but likable. Her diagnoses, you know, there was some feigning and malingering that Johnny Depp's psychologist talked about in regard to her psychological testing. What else? Her body language. And also, you know, I watched pretty much everything. And the only person that I remember seeing as saying that she actually saw Johnny Depp hit her or physically abuse her in any way was her sister. And obviously her sister is going to say something to, you know, to protect Amber, to further Amber's cause. So all of these things, and in contrast to Johnny, who was so likable, who was so vulnerable, who you could just tell from sitting across from him that he was telling the truth.
Okay, Janine Driver, why did this jury not believe Amber Heard was a victim?
Now, we've talked to death about body language and statement analysis and her hand gestures, and illustrators didn't match what she said. She talked about current tense instead of past tense. What I want to focus on tonight is, why aren't we forgiving of this? Because we all lie, Vinnie, all of us. I'm sure you've lied in the last 24 hours. Research shows 1 out of 9 adults lie in social situations, college kids 1 out of 3. Here's why we are not forgiving when we hear her lie on the stand. There's 4 types of lies. Pro-social. Does this outfit make me look fat? No, Janine, the fat makes you look fat. I want you to lie to me. I don't want you to tell me the fat makes me look fat. Self-enhancement. Self-enhancement is J-Lo lying about her age. Rebel Wilson lying about her name and her age years ago. Miley Cyrus saying she married Liam Hemsworth 5 years before she actually did it. We can forgive pro-social and self-enhancement lies, but selfish lie, a selfish lie and an antisocial lie, we are not forgiving. Selfish lie means I get something and you get pain. So here she is on the stand lying, causing someone pain, Johnny Depp. We are not forgiving. Antisocial lies. These are the lies that we just tell lies just to cause harm to people and we get nothing from it. Jodi Arias is in these categories. Brian Williams lied about a helicopter he was on getting shot down, saying he got hit by a missile. When his story was cool as is. Here's the United States. Here's Brian Williams' helicopter. Here's the Taliban. You had to land because of a windstorm, a sandstorm. You didn't have to lie. So Lance Armstrong, these are the types of lies. Casey Anthony lying to police, found guilty for lying to police. These are the lies the jury and the general public are not forgiving. Selfish lies cause harm to others. Antisocial lies cause harm to others. And you get off on it. So those types of moments, we see it in Amber and we just don't like it. And at the end of the day, really, the jury should have sided with Amber because there was verbal abuse. It's been proven. We heard it. Why their side muddied the waters by having her get on the stand and tell these elaborate lies is great. I'm not a lawyer. Maybe you can answer that. Why didn't they just focus on the voice messages and the toxic, mutual abuse that they had? Why did Elaine muddy the waters with this terrible, terrible testimony?
They were following the formula from the UK, where a 71-year-old man was convinced she was telling the truth. The judge. Okay, everyone's staying with us. When we come back, another important question that we need to answer tonight in the aftermath of this trial. Will this case and this verdict and everything we've experienced over the last 7 weeks, will it deter people from falsely accusing others? Will it somehow make people think twice? Make people think twice about coming forward who are real victims? That discussion when we return.
And give Lumi a try today.
Why did you ask for a domestic violence temporary restraining order?
I wanted to change my locks. I wanted to change my locks. I wanted a good night's sleep. I was falling apart. I was scared and very conflicted because the person I was scared of is also the person I was in love with. I just wanted to change my locks. I thought it'd be healthier if I got some sleep and I could think about what to do or how to handle this. If I just could sleep. And when I did, I realized that that wasn't enough, that he could get in any way, that the building wasn't going to stop him from getting a locksmith and coming in. I knew that he would do what he wanted.
Amber Heard talking about the TRO. Here she is talking about the TRO and TMZ. Take a listen.
You told this jury that you had no idea that the press was going to be outside after you got the ex-parte TRO on May 27th, 2016. Do you remember that testimony?
I apologize, I must have misunderstood, Ms. Vasquez. I actually had no idea whether they were going to be there or not. When I walked into the courtroom that day, it was completely quiet, still, empty.
In fact, you testified that you were, quote, shocked when you saw press when you were leaving the courthouse. Yes?
Yes.
You weren't shocked at all, though, were you?
Incorrect. It was
You knew the press
horrifying.
would be at the courthouse, right, Ms. Heard?
No.
Well, you did bring your publicist to the courthouse with you on May 27th, 2016, didn't you?
I sure did. I'm a public figure. I brought my publicist in case it blew up. In case. And
You actually
I'm glad
had
I did.
alerted TMZ that you would be filing a TRO against Mr. Depp that very day,
No, I did
didn't
not.
you?
No, I did
The
not.
one day you didn't bother to wear makeup to cover up the mark on your face.
I did not call TMZ or any other news source or paparazzi source. No one.
Well,
I
we
never
heard
did that.
testimony from former TMZ employee Morgan Tremaine yesterday, correct?
Did I hear his testimony?
Yes.
Yes, I was here.
Yes, and you heard Mr. Tremaine's testimony that he knew to dispatch the paparazzi to the courthouse on May 27th, right?
I heard him say that he knew that, yes.
Yeah, and that he dispatched paparazzi to the courthouse to capture a picture of an alleged bruise on the right side of your face. Do you remember him saying that?
I remember him saying that.
That information must have come from your team, right, Ms. Heard?
Absolutely not. Why would I want that? What actual survivor of domestic violence wants that?
Powerful moment towards the end of the trial. But here's my question, and it's related to what she did here, and the results of this case being so public. Still with us, Holly Davis, Dr. Carol Lieberman, Janine Driver. Here's the question I have for you. Will this case deter other people from making false accusations? Will this case make real victims think twice about making accusations? Let's start with Dr. Carol Lieberman.
Well, first of all, we need to look at which victims. You know, that seems to assume that you seem to be talking about women victims. But this whole thing has been looked at, you know, the Me Too movement has really had a powerful run. And I think that this case and the outcome of this case has really shown that it's time the tide needs to go back the other way so that things get balanced out. Johnny Depp is, you know, sort of has become the figure of the He Too movement, whether he wanted that or not. Men who are abused, who have been afraid to come forward, who don't report abuse. Less men report abuse than women. It's not because of the actual numbers of abuse. So now more men, through Johnny Depp being courageous and telling his story, they will come forward more because, you know, instead of seeming weak, they realize that it's actually strength to be a man and come forward and talk about it.
Janine Driver, what do you think? Will this deter people from making false accusations, or will it make people think twice, real victims think twice about accusing someone?
I think the big question, the big answer here is emotional intelligence for us, for the family members. These domestic violence people, they often don't even realize they're in that That's not happening to me. He loves me. No, it was just because he was drinking. And so for our own emotional intelligence, self-awareness, social awareness, are you checking in with your family, your coworkers? I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I saw the look on a relative of mine's eyes. One time we were playing this game, True or False, and we threw it in a hat. I'm up here at my alma mater here at North Adams State College, now called Massachusetts, MCLA, Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts, and we threw our questions in a hat. And this relative of mine, when she answered, who's the best kisser she ever kissed, the look on her husband's eyes, I had seen that look. If you are a survivor, you know the look of this evil that comes over their eyes. And I reached out to her on the QT and said, I'm here. There's nothing that can ever happen that can that'll push me away from you. How can I support you? How can I help? And when the time came when she was ready, because he threw a shoe at her and she had the newborn baby, her fingernails went into her skin. She said she would have stayed for a long time, but it was that newborn baby's fingernails going into her skin when he threw a cleat at her that made her leave. And she reached out and called me in that moment. So I think the big answer here, Vinnie, is what is our emotional intelligence with the people in our lives? Can you spot the toxic relationships? Remember, overly charming is alarming, and they get away with it, these abusers, because they're overly charming.
Holly Davis, what do you think the impact will be here?
It better deter people who are coming to court who are lying. And this is what I love about the court system. There's going to be a trial lawyer like me or like you, Vinnie, that's going to ask some questions of a person who is making claims in court. That's the beauty of the system. And the importance of this case, I think, is not that Amber Heard has co-opted the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement is important. Harvey Weinstein's conviction today being upheld is a significant moment proving that Me Too is here, it's here to stay, and it's something that's important. But what's happening here in this case is that Amber Heard tried to use her gender as a blanket protection against the violence that she committed, and you can't do that. Violence happens to men and women. Violence happens most often to women at the hands of men in domestic violence cases. But this case is going to deter people who want to co-opt the movement for their own personal gain. And while it might have a chilling effect on some people who want to come forward, the justice system will prevail. We get to tell the truth. We have a whole system of direct and cross-examination that's designed to elicit the truth. We have a jury that can sit next to someone and read them and determine whether or not they're being lied to as a jury. And that worked perfectly today. So as an advocate and as a proponent of the justice system, I think it's incredibly important to know that Amber Heard is not the spokesperson for domestic violence. And this jury said that. So as we move along through our day and as we talk about this as journalists and analysts and lawyers, we need to remember that Amber Heard was shown she is not the spokesperson for domestic violence. Instead, this is a person who lied for personal gain. And that's the takeaway from this. Me Too is important, and you can't use your gender to absolve yourself from your own responsibility for your own abuse, be you male or female.
Great stuff tonight. Great insight, perspective. You've helped us so much throughout this trial. Thank you so much, Holly Davis, Dr. Carol Lieberman, and Janine Driver. I hope now that this trial is over that you'll continue to come back and help us with all the stories that we're covering. So thanks again, and have a great night and a great weekend coming up.
Thanks, Vinnie.
All right, folks. Next hour, bring in the legal think tank. There's a question lingering out there that a lot of people are asking. So we're going to try to answer it tonight. No, I'm not going to try. We're going to answer it tonight. And in light of this jury's verdict, people are wondering, can Amber Heard be charged with perjury? Wow. Legal think tank next to answer the question everyone is asking.
In Fairfax County, Virginia, the jury spoke. They awarded Johnny Depp $15 million in damages because Amber Heard lied. Tonight, we answer the question many are asking. Can Amber now be prosecuted for perjury?
He was squeezing my neck against the railway car for what felt like a very long time.
And what about the millions of dollars? How does Johnny get Amber to pay?
As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million.
Plus, tonight's 13th juror question, why do you think Johnny lost his defamation case in the UK, but had such a big victory here in the United States? Buckle your seatbelts. This hour of closing arguments starts right now.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you aboard. Whew. Still getting my feet on the ground here. It was a intense day and weeks in Fairfax County, Virginia, in what really I think has turned out to be the trial of this century. But I want to begin tonight by going into the Closing Arguments Wayback Machine and show you a very short clip from the trial of last century.
Anyone who comes to this court and quotes you as using that word in dealing with African Americans would be a liar, would they not, Detective Furman?
Yes, they would.
All of them, correct?
All of them.
That was a lie. That was Mark Furman, caught in a lie on the stand. But not just caught lying, subsequently prosecuted for lying, prosecuted for perjury. So as we sit here tonight, everyone is wondering about some of these statements from Fairfax County, Virginia.
Threw a glass at me and slams me up by my neck. Tells me that he could kill me. He just kicked me in the back, throws me across the room, and is just whacking me in the face. And he balled up his fists, leaned back, and headbutted me square in the nose. Slams me up against the side of the closet. He had me by the hair and dragged me. He was squeezing my neck against the railway car. He'd slam me up against the wall. And Johnny at one point slapped me in the face in our bedroom. He punched me across the jaw. I went flying into this old church furniture, pulls his arm back with the phone and throws it at my face. Johnny was strangling me and assaulting me on the countertop in Australia. This is a man who tried to kill me.
Well, the jury spoke, and they told us that she lied. I mean, Johnny Depp won the trial. Johnny Depp won that trial. She lost. It was a defamation case. I mean, by definition, a defamation case. And she testified to everything that she was accused of lying about in the defamatory statements in the Washington Post. So as we sit here tonight, and there's a lot of chatter online about this, and it's the question people keep asking me, can she be charged criminally for perjury? Not sued for lying, no, but prosecuted for lying under oath in court. Let's get the answer. Let's bring in the think tank. Joining us tonight in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, former prosecutor, former assistant state attorney. She knows a few things. Counsel for Ben Crump Law, trial attorney Sue Ann Robinson with us. In Houston, Texas, criminal defense attorney Carmen Rowe. And in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney, law professor at Emory University, and Georgia Innocence Project board member Molly Palmer. Welcome to you all. Okay, I've got 3 questions for you, but I'm going to start with the first one. Can she be charged with perjury? Sue Ann, what do you think?
She could be charged, but it's a very, very unlikely.
Wait, that's a different question. I said I had 3 questions. Don't answer question 3 before we get through question 1. Can she be charged with perjury? Go ahead, Sue-Ann. I'll let you finish your answer.
She could be, but it's very unlikely. What the verdict says is that the jury didn't find her credible, just like the UK judge did find her credible. But it hasn't been determined that what she said is a lie. So if there was video showing contradicting what she was saying, specifically the specific incidents of violence contradicting that, then it could be likely that a grand jury could sit down and watch the video and say, you know what, this is completely contradictory to what the video said versus what she said. But it's still, her testimony was found to be not as credible as Johnny Depp's testimony, and that's a different standard, in my opinion, for a prosecutor to actually prosecute someone for a crime.
Great distinction. Carmen Rowe, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts tonight? I mean, there's a whole bunch of people who want her to be charged, but can she be charged?
I agree with my colleague. I think she could be charged with perjury in this case. It's a criminal offense. I think it's a felony in Virginia, but the likelihood of those charges is not great. And the reason is because we haven't dead to rights caught her in a lie. And so somebody can go back through all these transcripts and maybe it's there, which it was in the Furman case, in the OJ case. He made clear statements to a lawyer who was putting him into a box, who was trapping him, knowing that he had evidence to show that these statements were lies, and got him to commit to them, to make sure he understood the question, to give him an out. He didn't take it. And I think that's why those perjury charges stood and why they probably would not stand with all of the varied stories and facts that were not credible, but may not have been outright lies.
Molly Palmer, can she be charged with perjury for what she did in that courtroom in Fairfax County, Virginia?
Look, Vinny, you know as well as anybody else, prosecutors can charge almost whoever they want anytime. That's how I feel, at least. But I will say that, there's a big distinction here when we look at Mark Furman and the OJ trial versus Amber Heard and a civil trial. First of all, we have a very different standard of proof, right? A civil trial is by the greater weight of the evidence, a preponderance, whereas criminal is beyond a reasonable doubt. But when it comes to actual perjury prosecutions, and what made Mark Furman's prosecution, I think, different was this. Usually, when they go after you for perjury, it has to do more with obstructing justice, lying about the crime. Usually it comes from a criminal case, and a witness is charged because they lie to obstruct justice in that case. This is a little nonlinear. And interestingly enough, when Mark Furman was sentenced and given probation, that was kind of performative, I think, in terms of the LA District Attorney's Office. But they gave him probation because the court said, look, this isn't really typical. He lied on the stand, but it wasn't about the substance of the case. So we're going to go light on him. So here we have lies that I think, interestingly enough, might be somewhat about the substance of the case, but it's a civil case, a different standard. So she could, but will she? My vote is no.
All right. You all may be too young to remember, but I remember Lil' Kim got prosecuted for perjury criminally. Say you guys are too young. Too young. All right, so I asked you, can she be charged? Now, let me get to my next one. Should she be charged with perjury? I'll start with Carmen on this one.
Absolutely. If somebody goes through this testimony and finds that she lied for the purpose, as Molly said, of obstructing this civil litigation, I think there's no question. We've talked about this before on this show. People who lie in court or to pursue charges against another person, in my mind, are some of the worst offenders in our justice system, and they absolutely should be charged.
I was thinking of someone else. It's amazing. It was such a big case. I can't remember how it all turned out. I don't think it turned out well. But I did not have sex with that woman, Ms. Lewinsky. Somebody said that. I don't think it turned out well for him. Should she be charged, Molly?
Well, I generally don't like people to be charged with anything, but okay. I will say, I don't like Amber Heard. I'm with the rest of America on this one. And I think what's interesting is that sometimes prosecutors, well, we do know that they hand select their cases, right? There's a lot of selective prosecution going on. And I think what if they want to make an example about somebody who used so many courtroom resources? This was a 6-week trial, you know? And it wasn't like she was just defending herself against the plaintiff, Johnny Depp. She brought a countersuit. So maybe we have an incentive of a district attorney in Virginia to say, you know what? This was such a waste of resources of our state that our state deserves to see her prosecuted. And I can envision that.
And Sue Ann, she also went to court to get that restraining order, right? I mean, that's another thing. So should she be charged with perjury?
I think that if someone went through this transcript, we would find a lot of crimes, including Johnny Depp and his jar of cocaine, the shrooms that Amber Heard admitted she smuggled into Australia. And apparently she smuggled some dogs into Australia. So I think that the transcripts are wrought with crimes, whether or not the prosecuting agency.
Wait, no. I'm asking you, should they? You're a former prosecutor. Should they? Is this the kind of situation where we should be bringing perjury charges against someone that we believe has lied on the witness stand?
I don't think this is a scenario where she's been caught dead to rights, as my colleague said, in a lie. I don't think she was found to be a credible witness, and that is a completely different thing. If I'm the prosecutor and I'm looking at it, I'm not prosecuting her for perjury, possibly for smuggling, possibly for the drug use, possibly for all the other crimes they discussed that were overlooked during the course of the trial, but not necessarily the perjury, just because the standard is different in a criminal case.
That is such an important part of this, Carmen Rowe, and we can't just brush that over. Let's put a highlight on it, because Sue Ann is making the biggest point, I think the most important point here. If this jury found that she lied, but the standard to prove perjury is you have to prove that lie beyond any and all reasonable doubt. In this case, the lie was like that for part of the case, and then like that for the clear and convincing. This was the greater weight part of the case. This was the clear and convincing, but beyond a reasonable doubt is like this. I mean, it's a way different standard. So for a prosecutor to bring it, they've got to be able to bring it in court.
Yeah, Vinnie, it's got to be material, and it needs to be an intent to deceive. And so those are going to be really hard to prove in this case, because as you said, we have a myriad of stories and versions of things and perspective issues and things like that, which is why you would have to go through the transcript, find an isolated fact that you could actually show she intended to deceive this jury with, and that it was material in order to even get to the elements of perjury in Virginia.
Okay, now reality check. Will she be charged? Molly, do you think she'll be charged?
With perjury?
Yes.
No, I don't think she will for this trial because of all the reasons that we talked about. But I mean, Sue Ann has made me think that maybe there's a lot of other charges that could be forthcoming. So I don't know. No for perjury. No for perjury.
All right. So no one here thinks that she actually will be charged with perjury. Yeah,
No,
I agree.
No.
I agree
The dog
because
smuggling, yes.
there you go, and that's down in Australia. So we're you know.
Well, and Vinnie, to Molly's point, the people looking for a pound of flesh on perjury may get it in Australia because that case is still pending, as I understand it. So that may put a little less motivation behind a prosecutor's office who's upset with the waste of resources in Virginia.
Okay, all right. We've got more to talk about tonight. Think Tank with us the whole hour. When we come back, there was a huge award by this jury. I mean, $10 million for compensatory, $5 million punitive. That'll be reduced by the judge. But how is Johnny going to get his money? I mean, it's one thing to get the judgment. How is he going to collect on this judgment? We're going to have our think tank, and we're going to bring in a special guest who had to chase O.J. Simpson for money. That is next.
with Worthy.com.
As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $2 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $0.
That was Judge Penny Azcarati yesterday reading the damages awarded to each side by the jury. Amber Heard awarded $2 million in damages, but now owes Johnny Depp $10.35 million total. During an appearance on the Today Show this morning, Amber's attorney, Elaine Bredehoft, was asked if Amber can pay. Here's what she said.
Is she able to pay a $10.4 million judgment?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
According to Amber's attorney, she doesn't have the money. So tonight we're asking the question, how do you collect these damages? It's one thing to win the award, but how do you collect the award? Special guest joining us to shed some light on this subject. He's in Los Angeles, California, the attorney who worked for the Goldman family in their civil case against O.J. Simpson. He was chasing O.J. through airports trying to get that money. Peter Haven is with us, and I must let everyone know, Peter and I, friends, went to college together. I think we graduated in like 2000 or something like that, Peter. I just can't remember what year it was. Anyhow, great to see you.
It's great to see you too, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention hello and salutations from our friend and esteemed attorney colleague, Jerry Salerno. He wanted me to pass on his best wishes to you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Jerry's my guy. Okay, Peter, let me start here. How do you collect $8.35 million?
It's very hard to do, but I completely agree with the statement of her counsel that she doesn't have the money to pay. The way we would typically try to collect this money is to put a lien or garnishment on her royalty streams from her movies. I would anticipate that she's earning some type of royalty stream from the movies that she's made, regardless of whether she gets any future career opportunities or not. If she owns real estate, we would record judgment liens in any state or county in which she owns real estate. And then if that real estate is ever sold, we would have the right to have a judgment lien on it and demand a portion of the sale proceeds. They're a patchwork quilt of state jurisdictions regarding homestead exemptions and things like that. But those are the primary means. And I do think that there's a substantial likelihood that this verdict will be appealed, and we have to wait and see what will happen with the appeal.
Well, let's just presume that she doesn't win the appeal and he still has this award. Can he go after future earnings? So let's say she gets a movie part, or maybe she gets onto Dancing with the Stars, wherever she's going to get some money. Can Johnny Depp go after that money, and would he be able to get all the money? And my other concern here is at the end of the day, if you've got this judgment against you, can you still take care of yourself, feed your child, keep a roof over your head?
Usually the states have provisions that allow you to keep some portion of what you earn to satisfy basic needs. The short answer to your question is yes, he can go after all those future income proceeds. It's not always cost effective to do so. Everyone thinks go after everything, but you have to spend money to go chase those assets and debts. And oftentimes the amount of money you spend isn't worth what you get. And, everyone thinks that it's good to be sort of vindictive and hound people to death, but that's not always the most legally prudent and cost-effective way to go.
But what if you have like hundreds of millions of dollars and you're really angry and you're really spiteful? But what you're saying is you'll have to continue to litigate to try to collect the money that you already won in a different litigation.
You've won a judgment, and the judgment says you're the winner, and this person owes you the net of whatever, $8-something million. But it's just like any other bill. If you want to collect, you have to enforce it. The judgment itself is a form of victory, and vindication is appropriate. But collecting it is a whole different matter. And people, in my experience, on a judgment like this, will do anything and everything to try to avoid paying it. And what ideally I think we'd like to see with something like this is, while there is a potential appeal pending, we would presume, or at least assume, that there'd be some discussion of a settlement here. I presume she has some assets, although she probably doesn't have a lot. And I think there's room for these people to try to resolve this. Whether they will or not, I honestly do not know.
Yeah, Peter, look at them right now. No way. I mean, look at them on the screen. There's no way that these two people are agreeing to anything. I don't see it, but it would be in the best interest of, I think, everyone, for them to move on to the next chapter, right?
Love gone awry can be a very ugly thing, I'm sorry to say. But yes, you're right. You called it. They don't look very happy together there.
All right. Peter, great to catch up with you. And if I ever retire from here, we'll open up the firm of Salerno, Haven, and Politan. How about that?
We would be lucky. Thanks very much. It's great to see you. All the best to everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, let's bring back in our think tank, still with us, the law firm of Sue Robinson, Carmen Rowe, and Molly Palmer, just on Thursday nights. So what do you think? Do you think Johnny Depp, Molly, will be of the mindset to use lawyers to continue to chase this money, even if it costs him all the dollars that Peter said it's going to cost him?
I think that's a great question, Vinny, and I'm glad you asked. And I like to believe that benevolent Johnny Depp truly is a man of his word when he says he was not in this for the money. And let's be clear, he does not have to execute this judgment. I mean, that could conceivably happen. He could say, look, I don't care about the judgment. I'm not going to enforce it. I wanted the world to know that I'm not what she says I am, and I'm done with it. I'm going to play guitar with Jeff Beck, and I'm going to hang out with Kate Moss, and that's it. I like to believe that maybe he's the type that doesn't care about the money.
Okay. Sue Ann, I have another question for you. I want to play a piece of Amber's testimony from the trial, and then I have a question on the other side.
What did you do once the ACLU had your agreement to be the spokesperson for the op-ed, to put your name to it?
I sought the advice of my attorney.
And why did you do that?
Well, because I didn't want to get into any sort of legal issue. I didn't want to have any sort of legal problems for talking about what happens to women or people when they come forward and speak about these sorts of issues, especially when they come forward against someone more powerful than them. And that backlash, the retaliation that people face when they come forward is exactly what I was writing about. And I didn't want Johnny to retaliate against me and quite literally prove my point.
And so who was the counsel that you hired to review the op-ed?
His name was Eric George.
What, if any, of Eric George's advice did you follow in the context of the op-ed?
I took all of his advice. I made all the edits he suggested. I took all of his advice.
And what, if any, of Eric George's advice did you ignore?
None. I mean, he's my lawyer. I listened to him.
Okay, Sue Ann, this is always uncomfortable. This is an uncomfortable conversation. We're all lawyers, okay? Amber Heard, the op-ed that she wrote or put her name to that just cost her $10.35 million, before she okayed it, she hired a lawyer to vet it for her, and the lawyer apparently, according to Amber, said it's okay. Should Amber Heard go after her lawyer for malpractice to pay the judgment to Johnny Depp?
To pay the judgment? No, the lawyers were not lawyering in that case. Eric George was apparently not lawyering, and neither was Andrew Waldman, because he cost his client $2 million. So it's two lawyers here that just completely missed the boat on making statements or approving statements. They're not trained in media. Everybody's not trained in media. And that's what happened. She followed his advice and
right.
ended up
So
in
did
a
he
defamation case.
Do you believe that she may have a claim for malpractice, and that claim could perhaps provide the funds to pay off this judgment?
She has a claim for sure. If she went to him saying, listen, can you look at this article and see if I can be sued for defamation? And Eric looks at her and is like, okay, take this out, take his name out. Because that was the whole thing up until the trial. She kept saying, or her team kept saying, you know, she does not mention him by name. And I was like, well, okay, that's fine. You didn't mention him by name, because everyone obviously is assuming, including the judge, which is why the trial went forward, made the ruling that she was discussing or talking about Johnny. But the article itself, as she said, and her team should have focused on in the trial, is about the wrath, this public
Oh, I get it. Jury didn't agree with that, though.
The jury didn't agree with it. And so that's the problem. The article on its face doesn't mention Johnny, doesn't have any per se defamatory remarks about Johnny directly, but it could be inferred. And that's where you get into the problem. Is it clear-cut malpractice that he said it was fine and it ended up that it was wrong? And that's where it's not going to be a black and white issue, but she could have a claim.
Yeah, I don't know, Carmen. Do you think she files a claim? Do you think she's I mean, from her testimony, and I'm basing this just on her testimony. I don't know the whole story. I don't know. I wasn't there, but based upon her testimony and what happened here, if the lawyer said, no, this is not a good idea, then it never gets published. This trial never happens. The verdict never happens. She never owes Johnny Depp $10.35 million. So what do you think? Does she file a claim to try to help satisfy her judgment here?
Vinnie, it's a firm maybe. I would definitely file a lawsuit against the lawyer. Why? Because you need to try and spread out this loss somehow. So people do it all the time. But the problem is that the lawyer who advised her regarding any defamation claim can't possibly know if what she was saying was true. So I don't know that that lawsuit goes anywhere, because the lawyer relied on the client to give them truthful information such that they could vet this op-ed in a way that didn't go to its truthfulness, because I'm going to trust you on that, Amber. And then the rest of it is legalese and stuff like that, and parameters that have to do with things that are not going to be why she tries to sue this person for malpractice. So I think it's a loser, but I think she probably takes that, you know, advice from a different lawyer who says, yeah, that's a deep pocket we should look into.
Yeah, because every lawyer, right, we all have malpractice insurance. So some insurance company is going to step in. They're the ones that pay. I'm not paying. They're going to pay anyway. But you guys don't make mistakes, so you don't have to worry about this. It's these other, and I don't know if it was a mistake. He may have given perfect advice. I don't know what happened. Just looking at potential ways to satisfy a really large judgment. Okay. By the way, folks, tomorrow, the attorney for Amber Heard, Elaine Bredehoft, will join Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter for an in-depth live interview from the Fairfax County Courthouse. That is tomorrow, 1 p.m., right here on Court TV. Oh, back to me. Didn't realize that. We'll be right back.
4.
I'm Chandler Painter in Fairfax, Virginia, and if you enjoyed our gavel-to-gavel coverage of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, check out our YouTube channel to relive every polarizing moment. Brought to you by Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back. For those of you who are big true crime fans and listen to podcasts, I know you're very familiar with the podcast, the Up and Vanished podcast, highlighting the disappearance of a school teacher / beauty queen from South Georgia. That case turned into a murder trial. Court TV legal correspondent Julie Janae has more for us tonight.
Friends of Tara Faye Grinstead last saw her alive the night of October 22nd, 2005.
The scene in Tara's house was ambiguous to us.
The popular history teacher, also a former beauty pageant contestant, lived alone in the town of Ocilla, Georgia, about 3 hours south of Atlanta. The day before she disappeared, Grinstead opened her home to students who were getting ready for the Miss Georgia Sweet Potato Pageant. Later on, she went to a cookout and is believed to have returned home around 11 at night. When she didn't show up for work that following Monday, she was nowhere to be found.
We had a situation in which many people had been in the residence that day, and also several persons had been in the residence before law enforcement arrived.
The search for clues into Grinstead's fate would last more than a decade. A billboard with her photo and a tip line number loomed for years in the area, along with hopes she would be found.
You're convinced you will find her?
I am convinced we will, one way or the other.
Dozens of people were interviewed as Grinstead's personal life came under heavy scrutiny, but no one was arrested. Her disappearance consumed the small town in rumors and speculation.
An Atlanta filmmaker turned podcaster is on a mission to solve the 2005 disappearance of Tara Grinstead.
That case went cold until it became the subject of the Up and Vanished podcast, which renewed interest in Grinstead's story and got people talking. Of those people was the girlfriend of Bo Dukes, a former student of Grinstead's.
You want the truth? Here's the truth. I found out on January the 10th what happened to Tara. Bo told me everything.
Then in February of 2017, police arrested Bo Duke's friend, Ryan Duke, and charged him with murder, aggravated assault, burglary, and concealing a death. Soon after, authorities brought charges against Bo Dukes, too. Bo Dukes and Ryan Duke were part of the class of 2002 at the high school where Grinstead was a teacher. The two remained close after high school. Bo was living in Ryan's trailer when Grinstead went missing. They shared a secret, and it wasn't long before Bo started talking.
He said that he knew who had killed Tara Grinstead, and I said, who? And he said, your brother.
That is Stephen Duke, Ryan's brother, testifying in Bo's trial in 2019.
I asked him, kind of shocked, what do you mean? And he said, your brother killed her. I said, are you serious? He said, no, I'm just playing. Don't tell anybody.
Bo insists he was being truthful when he told investigators that Ryan killed Grinstead while burglarizing her home for drug money.
I asked him what the hell had happened. He told me that he had gone to her house that night, used a credit card to get him through the front door lock and strangled her in the bed.
Bo said he helped Ryan move Grinstead from a pecan orchard to a nearby pine grove, where they then burned her body. Ryan Duke gave a similar account to police later.
Nobody else helped you the night that you killed her. Nobody else helped you move the body until the body's out of the farm, and you and Bo burned the body together.
Fragments of human bones were found on the farm, but DNA testing could not positively identify the remains as those of Grinstead. Bo stood trial first in 2019. A Wilcox County jury convicted him of concealing Grinstead's death and lying to investigators. While Ryan waited for his trial to start, his story began to change.
We think that there were specific psychological stressors given Ryan's physical health at the time.
And so we think that those are relevant to why he might have told law enforcement something that was not true.
Prosecutors only charged Ryan with Grinstead's murder. In addition to his statement, a glove was found outside of Grinstead's home that contained Ryan's DNA. Despite the arrests of 2 suspects, questions still linger around her death. Questions that her loved ones hope will finally be answered at trial.
That trial is taking place in the middle of our coverage of Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard. So court TV cameras, microphones inside the courtroom down in Ocilla, Georgia. And beginning tomorrow, we're going to show you exactly what happened with our coverage of Georgia versus Ryan Duke. Don't miss it. When we come back, time to hear from you, our 13th juror. Here's the question, and it's why did Johnny Depp lose his case in the UK, his defamation case in the UK, but win in such a large fashion here in the United States? Your verdict when we return.
I think this is seismic, and the repercussions that this verdict will have will be felt throughout American culture for decades. This is huge. Johnny Depp has had to spend tens of millions of pounds to get his reputation back, and as he said in court, it was all on one little lie, referring to that temporary restraining order for domestic violence, which he says ruined his career.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised by the verdict. I think I expected it to go the other way. Based on the verdict in the UK when Johnny Depp sued that UK newspaper.
Join Calibrate.com.
How do you reconcile this verdict with the UK verdict?
Well, this is why my head is spinning. I was there for the UK trial. I saw very, very similar evidence in huge volumes being given in the UK trial. And we had a judge who, 3 months afterwards, decided that in 12 of the 14 allegations of domestic violence, Johnny Depp was guilty. That has been thrown out of the window by this American verdict.
Johnny Depp lost in the UK against The Sun, won big in the United States, both defamation cases. So why did it turn out that way? Why did he lose in the UK, win big in the US? 13th juror question of the day. Our comment of the day comes from Janet. The UK trial was decided by a judge following the law, not a jury that quite possibly was swayed by emotion and his fame. Molly Palmer, your thoughts? Is the judge just, not swayed by Johnny's swagger?
I mean, Johnny does have some swagger that sways, but I think Janet makes a good point. I think she's right essentially in that the jury is the reason for this totally different verdict here in the US and the UK, but I don't agree that the jury got it wrong. I think that this judge, it was John versus The Sun, right? A British tabloid. And so procedurally, it was a little different. He wasn't watching Amber every single day for 6 weeks like the jury was. I think the judge got it wrong, but Janet is right that it was the power of the jury that won this case for Johnny in the States.
Daniel tonight, because they withheld evidence, and Johnny Depp is a much better actor. A+ for deceiving many. Carmen Rowe, withheld evidence, that's due to the rules of evidence, right? We have rules about what comes in and what doesn't come out?
It does, Vinny. We use those here in the States. And it's interesting because I know that one of the bases for an appeal is going to be that there was evidence that didn't come in, that should have come in, that came in at the UK trial. I don't know if any of that's true or not, but I know that our rules matter and that you have to follow them. And when you don't, evidence doesn't come in. But I agree, this is all about the jury. And so, but I think it's more important than that. And it's interesting coming from Daniel. We had 5 men, 2 women. I really think that this notion culturally of men being victims of domestic violence is an issue that was probably difficult to overcome with one judge who happened to be a man in the UK.
Here's Rita tonight. I think the judge that made the decision did not see a man could be a victim. Her crying and lying performance won him over. Sue Ann, 5 men, 2 women versus 1 man wearing a wig.
Right. I think Johnny Depp's team epitomized that phrase, you learn more from your losses than your wins. Johnny Depp's team came in with an entire cheat sheet, all the answers to the test when they got to this trial because they had lost in the UK trial. So they knew what Amber Heard was going to argue, what scenarios she was going to talk about, what instances she was going to use, and most importantly, what defenses and arguments to disprove what Amber was saying was not going to work. They didn't come into the trial saying she was a gold digger as they did in the UK trial, which obviously didn't work. They came with a completely different theme, that Johnny was a victim, that obviously it was they had issues, it was a toxic relationship, that he watched his family get abused, his father get abused. They had a cheat sheet from the UK trial and used that to get an A+ in the US trial. That's my opinion.
Chad tonight, because the original article is why he lost in the UK. The Sun only reported because of the original article. All Amber had to do is say she was hit, and that's what it was based on. Plus, the UK has a completely different judicial system. And yeah, it is a different system. You don't get to present your case. It's like right away, you're being cross-examined. It's different. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but it absolutely is different in the way you're able to tell your own story if you bring a case.
Yeah, and I will also say, I think what Sue Ann mentioned is correct. We had this time between the UK trial and the US trial, and similarly to Johnny's team, I think Amber made some missteps and got emboldened, and rather than sticking to that script, we never heard about the bottle situation in Australia like we heard about it in the US. And so those differences matter, and they certainly mattered to that jury of 7 who issued that judgment.
Absolutely. Here's what Sue is saying tonight. Can he apply to have the verdict overturned in the UK? I can answer that one. He tried to and was denied an appeal in the UK. On their system, they said, no way. So as we sit here tonight, you can go to the UK and call Johnny Depp a wife beater and have no problem. He's not going to sue you. He can't sue you. The judge has already decided that he is a wife beater. But if you do that in the United States, look out. Can't do it. Jessica tonight. I think the UK trial didn't allow a lot of evidence and was only deliberated by a judge. And Carmen, that's true. It was just a judge. It was just one man. What are your thoughts? Because in the United States, you can choose to have a judge decide your cases, but usually you only do that if you kind of know the way the judge thinks, right?
Yes, Vinnie, you try to stay in front of the judges that think the way you want them to think. But more importantly, I think judges versus juries, right? You go to a judge when you're talking about a legal issue. But when you're talking about a case like this is all about the credibility of the people, the facts, and a lot of the emotion that went into this. And it is difficult for judges to apply the same type of emotional barometer that you're going to get from a jury. And having read that UK transcript, I mean, everything that was accepted and rejected, I wanted to object and say, why? What? There was not a lot of reasoning behind it, except that this particular judge felt like this was good, this was not, and therefore you win, therefore you lose. And that's a difficult thing to deal with when it's such high emotion.
Yeah, I think the other difference is, and when you have a case where just a judge is deciding, I mean, the truth is, and you guys don't have to say it because you still appear in front of judges, I don't. They're a little jaded, and not jaded in a bad way, but they've seen so much, and yeah, they listen, but they kind of like make up their minds kind of early. Like, I'll just give an example. Like, there I am, young prosecutor going in to make my argument about why one of these criminals should be sent away for years, Molly, for years. And I make this passionate argument. I show papers, a statement from the victim, everything. And then the judge says, thank you, Mr. Prosecutor, and then goes down and reads his decision that was written probably 2 hours before I came into court to make my passionate arguments. And I think that's just the way they see things. I think it's much more difficult to persuade them. I think they make a quicker judgment on a case and are less likely to be influenced not only by lawyers, but by the testimony. I think they'll look at a case and make up their mind ahead of time. And I think that's what happened in the UK. I'm sorry, that's what I think. Anyway, I also think we had an incredible show tonight with an incredible think tank. Sue Ann Robinson, Carmen Rowe, Molly Palmer, thank you so much. We'll see you again real soon. Appreciate it so much, so much. All right, folks, don't forget tomorrow, Chanley Painter interviewing Amber's lawyer live right here on your front row seat to justice. Before we go, need to show you a picture of Armando Mireles, just 14 years old, from Greenville, Tennessee, missing since April 13th. If you see Armando, call 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or the Greenville Police Department. The number is on the screen. Let's see if we can get Armando back to safety and know where he is. That's it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Vinnie Politan. As always, please don't forget to hug the kids.